morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this wonderful session. In this session, we will be talking about how procurement can drive social change. Our speakers today come from six different countries across three different continents. We have speakers from Europe, from Africa, and from South America. And as you can see on your screen, a very, very well balanced team in terms of gender. The presenters today are myself. My name is Claire Ishoke, and I'm the Global Supply Diversity Manager at Unilever. We have Andrea Girlanda, the CEO of Auticon, Jaime Paiva, the head of sourcing and procurement EMEA in Zurich Insurance. We have Michael Wunsch, who is the co-founder of Send Germany. Witeke Dupain, who is the head of knowledge, research, and business development at Euclid Network. And then lastly, we have Lucy Durand, who is the head of Unusual Partners at UNAS Social Business. Before we kick off the session, let's quickly make sure that we follow the few housekeeping rules that will be posted on the chat. We can go to the next slide, please. The next slide. Right. Before we get into the deep of things, I just wanted to give a brief overview about our chapter. So we are part of the Supplier Diversity chapter, and our chapter mainly explores different frameworks for promoting inclusive sourcing as well as social procurement in the supply chain. Social procurement is very, very wide, very, very many big emerging topics, and these are some of the topics that we explore and want to provide thought leadership and provide awareness around. I will now hand over to Lucy Durand. Lucy.
Hi, Claire. Hi, everyone. As Claire was explaining, so my name is Lucy. I am part of UNUS Social Business, which is an organization dedicated to support social businesses all around the world. We have 5 investment funds, and also we work on with multinationals on social innovation, which is how to work and collaborate with social enterprises. If you want to build your own social enterprises, if you want to accelerate and support some of them, and the topic for today on how to buy from them and how to select them as suppliers. So thanks for, I'm really happy to be here. Thanks everyone for joining. I see already a lot of people. We can kick it off, this conversation, just by going on the fact that is really well known for all of you, that procurement is now really central when it comes to driving ESG commitments within the companies. We see that there is really a shifted mandate that has happened over the last years, and now we see that around 63%, according to the EcoVadis sustainability barometers, of executive teams inside the procurement teams mention that corporate sustainability goals are shifted to the top of their agenda, that are one of the most priorities for them. We also know that as a consumer, as buyers within companies, every purchasing decision that we make has a consequence when it comes to environmental and social impact. And we know that it's one of the biggest lever in the world today when it comes to trying to create a more inclusive and impactful society and economy, that this is where decision can have an impact. And finally, a figure that we are trying to bring from time to time, but the approximation is that for $1 that is spent on CSR budget, you have $400 that are spent in the procurement team. So definitely when it comes to shifting the power towards the procurement team on driving sustainability, we see a huge potential to drive and have more impact what is coming from the procurement teams. And driving sustainability and impact in the supply chain is something that can be very large and very complex. And we know that this requires a multi-step approach and trying to work on different levels. The first one, and you can see here the supply chain sustainability leadership ladder. And you can see that the first steps are really important when it comes to building awareness, gaining visibility, ensuring compliance and mitigating risk, and making sure that everything is going well within your supply chain is what takes the most attention and the most resources today from the teams. This is something that we hear very often, and it's for sure one of the things that are the most important to do today. But some procurement managers, corporate managers are now saying that they feel stuck within this, what we can call compliance trap, and trying to move to the third and fourth step of the ladder is sometimes difficult because it requires so much energy and resources on the first steps. Social procurement is, we believe, an opportunity to directly drive positive impact directly through your contracts, and making sure that you can not only do not harm, but also do good within the society and contribute to the solutions of the problems that we have. So let me here define what's social procurement. It's the practice for companies to proactively select social enterprises to become suppliers for their value chain for goods or services. So we have all around the world today millions of social enterprises. I will define a little bit later on how to identify them. But social enterprises are companies just as any other company, but their main goal is to drive, find a solution to a problem in the society and drive impact. So it has the I usually say that it has the mindset of an NGO, but with the way of working as a company. Um, we have social enterprises in all the countries in the world. And the idea is that when a company select them as suppliers and buy from them, they will contribute to the impact of those social enterprises and help them to scale their operations and therefore their impact. One thing here, obviously, is that we are not saying that social procurement will replace any of those other steps. It has to be a process where you work on all those steps of the ladders and slowly getting better at it simultaneously. Companies can find social enterprises and integrate them as suppliers throughout their value chain. It's true that sometimes when we think about social enterprises, we can think of products that have been handmade and the type of goods that is not always part of the value chain. But actually, we see now that social enterprises are present in many different aspects. In the direct value chain, obviously, there are many of them that are working with commodities, finished products, packaging, but also in terms of services, you can find lots of social enterprises in the logistics sectors, as well as distribution and product end of life. Lots of them are working on recycled materials and waste picking. And finally, one category that is, as you know, quite overlooked sometimes when it comes to sustainability is everything related to indirect spend. We see lots of social enterprises in the service and product in that category when it comes to IT services, office supplies, office management, catering, translation services. This is where there is now a wide offer and very professional social enterprises in the sector that is kind of a low-hanging fruit for company to start engaging in this. And this is not something that is very new, because now we have many multinationals that are starting to engage in social procurement and having activities around that. Obviously, in the FMCG, we have multiple brands that are now doing it, but we see also many companies, I'm thinking about SAP in the technology sector, for instance, where they are really committed and engaged in the topic and taking it as one of their main priorities when it comes to sustainability. If you are in one of the company that doesn't have product and a direct value chain, but providing services to your clients, with the indirect spend category, you actually have lots of opportunity to find social enterprises as well. So in the professional advisory services, we see a lot of companies such as Deloitte, KPMG, Linklaters, but also in financial services, we have today with us Jaime from Zurich, but also BNP Paribas, IAG are as well engaged in this. So now, if you're not familiar with the topic, the most important question that you might have is on what's a social enterprise, how to find them. It's not something that is anecdotal. We have social enterprises, as I was mentioning, in every country in the world, and millions of them today. And some countries already have their own definition or even legal status for that to recognize them, sometimes also to provide them some tax incentives. But it's not something that is common. It really depends on each country. There is today, and it's been 1 year already, a global verification process that is starting from the Social Enterprise World Forum. That is one organization that supports social enterprises as well worldwide, to create this kind of worldwide definition and recognition of social enterprises that cover mission, ethics, income. The surplus is a really important part because social enterprises will reinvest their financial profits towards the pursuit of their mission, so towards the social impact. It has to be the majority of the surplus and the profits. As well as ownership and mission lock to make sure that when the company is growing and if changes happen in the ownership, the mission will always stay and be locked. So this is starting. We have now a way to verify the social enterprises, but I would say that the most direct way to know if to find social enterprises is to actually ask to what we call intermediaries or ecosystem builders. The Social Enterprise World Forum is one of them. Or social business, this is also something that we do. And we have today with us Michelle from CENT, that is the alliance in Germany. So you can also check within your country if you have an intermediary that is having a network of social enterprises and can support you with this. And what's the value for you? Why should we do that? We see lots of benefits, obviously, of driving social procurement on top of creating and contributing to direct social impact. But for the company itself, lots of benefits regarding the brand perception. This is a new and very impactful activity in terms of sustainability with tangible cases and stories that you can share. You have a way as well to drive your ESG, your sustainability strategy at a lower cost because you will buy product or services that you will need anyway. So that's a powerful way of creating impact without having additional budgets for that. But also employee engagement is one of the most common benefits that we hear from the companies that are doing social procurement today, as well as compliance and being ahead of regulation, because we see today the trend for public authorities to either oblige the companies as part of their risk mitigation plan to have positive impact activities, but also ways of supporting the social economy inside their country, inside their city, through the public markets. So that's lots of reason to look at this initiative and to start doing that. And I'm going to stop here. Obviously, feel free to reach out if you have additional question after the presentation. And I will pass on to Michelle from CENT to drive our fireside chat when it comes to social procurement in action. So you will hear from first-hand partnership and how it works and the benefits of it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lucy. I'm thrilled to be here. Today we have a very good setup of people on the panel to speak about what social procurement can do, how it looks like in action. I'm being joined by Andrea Galanda, who is on the supply side. So he's coming from a social enterprise called Auticon, one of the most interesting social enterprises in Europe that is active in very many countries. Hello, Andrea.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having me.
And then from the buyer's side, we have Jaime, who is head of sourcing and procurement at Zurich Insurance, and who is also very active at SPP. So hello, Jaime.
Hello, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Yes, so we thought it might be interesting for you, the audience, to hear about a bit of the work that we are doing on the ground and to hear some of our thoughts behind why we are driving by social forward. If you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat. I will take up any questions that we have there to answer in the fireside chat. And kicking off, I want to ask the first question to Jaime. So you are doing BiSocial already as a bigger company. How do you actually make your procurement process fit social enterprises?
Thank you, Michael. I think that we have to address perhaps one elephant in the room up front. So one thing that is a key principle for us is that we don't take any compromises, be it on quality or cost. So we start by giving social enterprises equal chances to compete with traditional business, and by doing so, letting them get by their own merits into our company as a supplier. Many times or sometimes they might not win the business, but alone that process of participating of tenders will allow them to learn from the experience and then be better next time. What we do perhaps differently is that we do handhold some of these social enterprises. And this is about identifying opportunities for them within our business, promoting them, but again, without getting into the discussion, oh, will this cost us more? Because the reality is, and we'll probably talk about this later, that the value add that social enterprises can bring to us will, I think that not only will differentiate them from other traditional businesses. And this is what we do. So we put them on equal terms on the cost, on the quality side, and then we try to find how to differentiate them from the others.
Looking for my unmute button. Thank you so much. As we see, many of the social enterprises, and Jaime was speaking to that point, are many times quite young still. So here at the Social Entrepreneurship Network Germany, we are an intermediary and we're supporting these social enterprises here in Germany. And there are some bigger examples, and we're coming to Andrea shortly, who is leading one of those. But there's still a lot of groundwork to do, actually, to support social enterprises. Many of them are probably 5 to 4 years old, sometimes even younger. They have innovative products and very interesting products, but in order to get them into, especially corporations, bigger companies, might take some time. How is it for you, Andrea? First of all, what is your offer and what is your impact that you do?
Thank you for the question, Michael. If you allow me, I would like to start with a short clip about Auticon. It's just 1 minute long, and then I'll be happy to answer your question.
when people say like, what is it like being autistic? Like, I don't have a reference, I've never known anything else. It's just how my brain works. So it's hard to kind of always explain.
Rayman's a great movie, and I've seen it, and it's fantastic. It's heartwarming, and everyone cries at the end. It's great. Tom Cruise, I love it. But it is not autism representative.
We heard from people in the worst situation who were bullied then because they're autistic, and actually, so by doing what they felt like was the right thing that might have led to more support, they had accidentally, become target of things that then meant they had to leave their job.
They love their job so much, they get so intense on it. I have to tell people, take a break, stop. I'm demanding you to stop.
All those impressions and all those ideas and all those thoughts, those myths basically, that's been hammered into you every time someone talks about autism. You're like, no, hang on, that's not true.
1 in 10 autistic workers don't feel that they can reveal their diagnosis. What's going on there?
It's about trying to educate, certainly from our perspective, the business community at large, so that, ultimately there is no difference.
Thank you very much, Michael. Autism in Conversation with Auticon is a podcast series designed to drive awareness of the realities of autism in the workplace. I don't know how many in the audience are familiar with autism. It's a very nice content. It's hosted by Cary Grant, and each episode features interviews with leading voices on autism, including figures from the business world, social media influencers, and autism academics. What is our offer impact model? Well, that was the question. First of all, and to avoid any confusion, Auticon is not a charity. We are an international social enterprise and business-to-business tech company providing inclusion and IT services to clients across industries and geographies. We have operation in 10 countries, including US, Canada, and most recently Australia. And what makes us unique is that all our 300 and plus IT consultants, who represent 80% of our workforce, are on the autism spectrum, all of them. As a social enterprise, our core social mission is to promote neurodiversity and help autistic adults to be successful at work. Our clients are organizations that want to attract, recruit, manage, and retain neurodivergent talent, but are unsure on how to approach this, and very frankly are concerned of getting it wrong. So we offer training on subjects such as neurodiverse condition. We focus on autism, but we help with ADHD, dyspraxia, dyslexia. We offer training on workplace assessment, communication, disclosure, recruiting, assessing, and managing neurodiverse colleagues in general. We also offer coaching for managers and neurodivergent employees. We offer consulting services to review and improve HR practices, policies, and materials and make them more inclusive and neurodiverse friendly. We offer inclusion maturity assessment across every stage of the employment life cycle to identify potential gaps that we can fill using our solution, and to help our clients measure impact and progress. Above all, I will say that our big differentiator is that we offer a lived experience with our autistic talent and in-house psychologist. We have been hiring, managing, and placing autistic talent into client teams for more than 10 years with exceptional results. And our experience suggests that there is nothing more efficient than working alongside our highly skilled autistic IT and data specialists within a proven support framework that mitigates risks and overheads to dispel fears and shift misconception, which unfortunately to this day remain the biggest stumbling block to the employment of neurodivergent individuals. That's Auticon in a nutshell. To briefly summarize, the lived experience with our autistic talents give our clients a better and direct understanding of neurodiversity. It proves the benefit of having neurodiverse teams. It creates a credible and positive narrative portraying neurodiversity as a potential advantage as opposed to a disability. It inspires business stakeholders to invest in neurodiversity and inclusion, and ultimately, it helps driving disclosure from existing employees and attract neurodivergent talent to the organization. Allow me, it's a unique and effective approach that benefit people with autism, businesses in general, and society. It's a very impactful model. Autistic people get access to rewarding careers that use their strength and talent appropriately. Our clients receive outstanding quality of work and experience directly the benefit of having neurodiverse team without dreading of getting it wrong. And ultimately, society sees citizens otherwise on unemployment benefit converted into taxpayers. It's a triple win model, we call it. Further, our model has universal benefits and benefits everyone in the organization. You know, the strategies for inclusion of neurodiversity are really ultimately aligned with the strategy for inclusion at large. We all have areas of strength and weakness, and regardless of whether we are neurodivergent or not, it's fair to say we all have the same ambition in the workplace. We want to be accepted for who we are and appreciated for the work we do. That's it, really. Everything else is consequential.
So you are doing a lot of interesting, influential work. And in the last couple of years, you've been grown quite a lot. As we heard before, many of the social enterprises that are existing now will be the big companies of the future, but they are not right now. But you are. How have you grown in the last couple of years? What is your success story?
It's a good question. I think our holistic model works, as simple as that. It drives business value and social change, and most importantly, is financially sustainable. I believe this is the key to our growth. In my view, combining impact with sustainability is the key factor that makes our model successful and scalable. Our business in the UK has doubled in size since the end of the pandemic, and we haven't received any investment or financial support. We are a true live proof of concept, let me say. 80% of our staff is autistic, which probably makes us one of the largest, if not the largest, employer of disclosed autistic talent in the world. And we are profitable. If we can make it work, everyone can too. With regards to our international expansion, it's fair to say that our model is easily replicable, and the employment problem and opportunity is similar in other countries. In the UK, the employment rate across the population is above 80%. For people with one or more disability, it drops down to 48%. And according to the National Autistic Society, only 16% of approximately 700,000 autistic adults living in the UK are in full-time paid work. It's a real waste of talent. Autistic individuals, especially those with a technical background, and this is why we specialize in IT lived experience, often have above average cognitive abilities in areas such as logical reasoning, sustained concentration, attention to details, and accuracy, which make their skills uniquely placed in the work environment and lend themselves particularly well, as I said earlier, to the IT services area that we specialize in, data science, cybersecurity, and software development. Unfortunately, awareness and education alone don't drive change. Movies such as Rain Man in the 80s with Tom Cruise and Dustin Hoffman did a great job in raising awareness about autism, but did nothing to improve the employment rate in the autistic community. It is very much the lived experience with our autistic talent and job coaches that wins hearts and mind. It's the direct experience that gives confidence and motivation to act. And Auticon provide the safety net, the support framework that mitigates risk and overheads and make the experience possible for our clients.
Amazing stuff. Thank you, Andrea. Coming back to you again, Jaime. You were saying before that you are taking social enterprises by the hand sometimes. I mean, I guess it depends. Some of them are very fluent in B2B already. But could you probably go a bit deeper into what you do with these social enterprises? What have been your success stories there? Where has there probably been some hindrances?
So Auticon is definitely one success story within Zurich, but we have been working with them now for 2 or 3 years, and in different geographies as well. In terms of what we do with other companies, perhaps, as I said before, we try to promote what they can achieve. And usually this is where I think that the most of the challenges that we face rely on, because internally there is, to a great extent, in the beginning of this process of educating our business partners inside of the company, a little bit of skepsis. I mentioned already this question about, well, are they competitive in cost, or what about the quality? And when you think about it, you need to show the case that you have internally, like Auticon and some others, I think, to demonstrate that what they can do will differentiate them, as I said before. And perhaps I will give you a concrete example. We started working, our very first social enterprise is a UK company called Wild Hearts. We started working with them in 2015, and we were maintaining conversations with them. We were trying to find the right moment to introduce them to the business. But we couldn't. We had a large multinational company providing us office supplies, as simple as this. Yeah. So for those of you who know category management on the call today, you will immediately realize that office supplies or stationery is non-critical, is non-strategic. So what the trainings that we receive over our careers on category management will basically tell you, exploit, try to bundle the volume, yeah, work with larger companies that can offer you, I think, that better prices. And we were working with one of these. However, back then, and I'm talking about 2015, this company, I don't remember now if they had to relocate their warehouse or they did implement a new IT system. The reality is that all of a sudden, we started seeing disruption in their supply. And as always, we would speak with them, we would try to put meetings in place and correction actions, blah, blah, blah. It wouldn't really causing any positive result. So at some point, we started receiving escalations. We started receiving complaints as well from the users, because nevertheless, it's not critical. After 3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever, without having paper or toner and things like this, you start having an impact. So we called them and we explained the situation, and we asked, would you, in case we cannot solve the problem, we were completely transparent with them, would you be willing to take the risk and take over the account? And they immediately said, yes, give us a chance and we will convince you. That was in 2015. We ended up having to switch to them and we never looked back. Yeah, so that demonstrates, yeah, what social enterprises can do and compete against traditional businesses. Going back to category management, because I think that this is one thing that I wanted to address here. If you follow those techniques or approaches, you might be, I think that my advice is to put some of them aside, not because they are not valuable, but let's face it, they have been developed in a time when sustainability or social impact wasn't a priority. I'm talking about 20 years or even more ago. unless we change some of those practices, some of the techniques that we have in category management will be, I think, that deviating you from the objective. So you have to elevate, I think, the point about social procurement being your strategy, and then hand-holding, as I said before. But for the sake of the strategy, it's one of your key impacts that you can generate in procurement. And only then, I think that you will not be sidetracked during the process.
I think this is a very uplifting story. It tells us that we can change, and there's some kind of change process behind that leads us to more sustainability in the long run. But it's not only about buying from new companies, but also changing your outlook and your view on how you do business. That's very interesting.
You're right, and perhaps one other example, be it with Auticon or be it with Wild Hearts that I mentioned before. In both cases, we start with one type of service or product buying from them. Over time, we either have expanded to other geographies or we have expanded the portfolio of services that we buy. So with Wild Hearts, for example, we have been working with them, or they have been helping us with innovation training to our employees. The whole procurement organization at Zurich, we have been through an innovation entrepreneurship training provided by Wild Hearts. Auticon helps us in our initiatives to drive more diversity and inclusive workplace to our employees. And the feedback that we receive is phenomenal. You know, it's things like, that makes me proud of working for Zurich, or we should be doing more of this. So over time, the relationship, which might start very small, you will see, because of the agility, the flexibility, the social impact drive, that will give us, again, I have to emphasize this many times, the added value that traditional business might not be able to provide. Think about, again, the employee engagement that we have from the relationship with Auticon. In a time like we are, where talent is so scarce, what is the value that we cannot monetize, perhaps, but in terms of talent retention, talent attraction to the business? It's difficult to measure, but there is an impact also for us. This is what Andrea mentioned before with the win-win.
And for you, Andrea, working together with Zurich, and that might be interesting question for all those who are social enterprise probably on the call, but also for those who probably working already with social enterprises. In what way does cooperation with Zurich help you in mitigating challenges?
First of all, kudos to Zurich and Jane, who personally supported our partnership for several years. Our collaboration is based on transparent and honest bidirectional communication with senior stakeholders who believe in our social mission. It takes two to tango, and Zurich are offering a level of support and commitment to neuro inclusion that is outstanding, really unprecedented. If all employers were like Zurich, Auticon wouldn't exist, and I wouldn't be here. I would be jobless. As I said earlier, more and more organizations and teams wants to become a destination for neurodiverse talent, but they don't know how to do this and are concerned of getting it wrong. Giving us visibility across the organization, supporting our engagement from the top, have opened doors and uncover opportunities in several countries. Our ambition has never been to place hundreds of autistic individuals at Zurich. We are not a body shop. Our ambition was to prove that there is business merit and social value in employing neurodiverse talent, and it's not difficult to make it work. And I think that from Ireland to Germany, we now have several enthusiastic stakeholders at Zurich who are very pleased with the result of our collaboration and ready to take their commitment to neurodiversity to the next level and to bring more neurodivergent talent to the wider organization. And as Jamie alluded to earlier, it brings many benefits at many levels. You see a drive for equality has led many organizations to adopt a one-size-fits-all approach, which is essentially incompatible with equity in its true sense. The most successful approach to diversity and inclusion is not equality of treatment, but equality of opportunities. The key is flexibility rather than conformity. It shouldn't be about different processes for men and women, different processes for neurotypical individuals, and processes for neurodivergent employees. What works best is a flexible model offering variations and options that suit the specific areas of strength and weakness that every individual has. Treating everyone in the same exact way, regardless of differences, doesn't help them to succeed. Zurich has proven an ideal partner to Auticon because they are committed to change and they have the will and agility to make it happen.
Yes. Now we see that Auticon, of course, has, as we said before, grown tremendously in the last couple of years. There's still a lot of interesting products and services that social enterprises are creating right now and will be creating in the future. And as I said before, there is a growing supply of social enterprises, which are still quite young. So if we look at the market size, it's quite difficult because to seize the market size, as there are no official numbers, unfortunately. But Euclid Network and others are working to do, for instance, the European Social Enterprise Monitor, which dives a bit deeper into how these look like. So the supply is there, but it has to be developed. And that's one of the key activities that we as intermediaries in the different European countries are doing right now. And not only in Europe, but of course also internationally. So a few things that we are doing is that we are taking the young social enterprises by the hand, try to give them all the necessary knowledge and networks in order to get their B2B business going, their B2B model. We do this through workshops, through events. We do a lot of pitching events all over the world. So if you are interested, if you're a company that is interested, please write to us and we can see which kind of pitching events might be interesting to you, so that you have the opportunity to meet interesting social enterprise suppliers. Of course, we do the networking behind all of it. Getting social enterprises together so that they can talk about good practice and what to do and what not to do is very important, but also to connect, of course, the social enterprises with the buyers. So there's a lot of work to do still. We are in a very young phase, but what I think is quite obvious by that point is that there is a benefit to be made working together with social enterprises. It takes some time. I mean, of course, you can go to Auticon and Auticon will stand ready, but with those who still need some support, there is, I think it makes sense to actually to do some effort to support these social enterprises also. And of course, sometimes to have just a test balloon, you know, to try something with them, as Jaime said before.
And Michael, if I may, it's just a very quick comment. I wanted to highlight here that for us, the buyers in this ecosystem, the work that the intermediaries like Send do is extremely important, because this is the go-to point where we can then leverage your membership, your network, to identify the suppliers that are viable to us. So this is, I think that for us, that's the benefit. For your network is the benefit about preparing them to be corporate ready, to understand how companies like Zurich work in terms of processes, documentation, you name it. So I wanted to make it clear in this call here that it's highly appreciated, the role of the intermediary.
Thank you so much. And of course, if you as a company are interested in getting social enterprises into your supply chain, Lucy from Social Business, Viteke from Euclid Network, or me, we're always there for you. So you can reach out to us, and we can then guide you to those in your country, those organizations, intermediaries that can help you. Good. Andrea, Jaime, any other important information that we should talk about right now? Otherwise, we can leave it. Perfect. Thank you so much. No questions in the chat either. So we explained it all perfectly. So you understood everything. That's very good. Next up, we will have a quick look at the Bisocial Europe movement and what's happening there with the lovely Viteke from Euclid Network. Over to you.
Thank you, Micha. Yes, absolutely lovely to all hear about Auticon and Zurich's partnership and relationship. I really think it's a best practice. So I'm just going to try to move you back to slides again and checking if you can see them. Good. Fantastic. I see a lot of thumbs up. That's really great. So yes, to very shortly sketch the context of the story that I'm sharing with you today on the bisocial and social procurement movement that's developing in Europe is to share a little bit about Euclid Network, the European Social Enterprise Network. So we're a membership-driven umbrella organization, a network for social enterprise support organizations like St. Germany, Social Business, and many others as intermediaries that are active in Europe, and some of them more internationally as well, of course. We have over 40 members today in 26 countries. We're active in 61 countries. And together we really support and represent approximately 100,000 social enterprises and social economy organizations, and many of them interested in selling and being involved in this topic of social procurement to make social and environmental impact. So it's crucial for many of the members of our members like St. Germany, and their members are social enterprises, to understand how this social procurement works and how they really create this impact and create these partnerships like Auticon and Zurich have. What we see happening in Europe at the moment on the topic of social procurement is amazing. There's really an enormous momentum. We see the demand increasing. Procurement from social enterprises, more and more of these partnerships that are developing, that are really successful and also kind of inspiring others to do the same. We also see the supply increasing, just the number of social enterprises. It's a new business model, new concept. It's generally still new. So if you look at 63.5% of the social enterprises out of the 2000 response to this monitor, which is a survey that's done in 21 countries, 63.5% of social enterprises were founded in the past 10 years, actually only. So in 30% in the past 3 years. And I think it's around 80% in the past 20 years. So it's a relatively new concept, but the number of social enterprises that are adopting this concept, or traditional enterprises actually becoming social enterprises, is really developing very fast. And then if you see the number of those who actually work on selling B2B to conventional firms or aim to do so in the future, it's 79.7%, a huge percentage of those social enterprises who actually want to sell B2B. And we just have here a number, it's 1,521 out of the 2,000 that responded to the European Social Enterprise Monitor. So 67.6% sell to multinational corporations already or aim to do so in future. So also you see there is a huge potential here if the matching is done right, and if actually buyers and sellers can find each other and be intermediated in that relationship, potentially with support from some intermediary organizations. 50% of those engaging in B2B sales would also like to attract more B2B customers. So I'm also looking at Andrea, if he's actually interested in having more customers as well, and more selling to organizations like Zurich, because many of those social enterprises are. So If we look then at funding and policy, and I'm talking about the enormous momentum that there's currently going on, the European Commission launched now over a year ago the EU Action Plan for the Social Economy. And this is an amazing supportive policy instrument that has been developed, where social procurement by the public and private sector is a very important action of the overall plan to really make this transition that we're looking at specifically after the pandemic to solve some of these crises that we face. Towards a more socially inclusive, a fair and a green society and economy. And this plan is supported by the Commission as well through many continuing policymaking and funding actions, call for proposals for funding, council recommendations, legislative changes that really will help social procurement actually to be a very important pillar to move things like net zero strategies and other important elements for many of the enterprises in our world. So a little bit more recently, the Commission also launched a follow-up like transition pathway on the twin digital and green transition, also having social enterprise being key players in that market. And again, social procurement is key to delivering upon that transition. And actually, I'm sitting at the moment at the OECD, it's an International Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, at their conference center. There's momentarily a global action conference on the social and proximity economy taking place these 2 days. And it includes like policymakers, such as ministers of different countries around the world. EU Commissioner Schmidt was here yesterday, who developed the EU Action Plan for Social Economy, is in charge of this. Corporate representatives, IKEA social entrepreneurship, as well as SAP, for example, social enterprise European intermediary networks like ourselves, you can network, but also circular economy networks like Reuse. And the transformative potential of social and environmental change is really a much mentioned topic, that social procurement is really essential in this. So all these panels and discussions, this topic pops up more and more. So it's very interesting to hear that and to bring that to you. Even yesterday, there was a workshop well attended co-hosted by the OECD, who host this whole conference, and SAP, a key leader in the social procurement space, on the topic of social procurement. So you really see it's very high on the policy and funding agenda of the Commission, and also increasingly on member states in Europe. So great momentum. So how to capture that momentum to remove some of the barriers for the social enterprise space is very important. Social enterprises, being a new business model as well, still face several barriers to be successful with these business models. Barriers range from a poor understanding, actually, what social enterprises are, what kind of social and environmental impact they bring as well in that perspective. Poor or difficulties in attracting customers, or disadvantages convening kind of public procurement offerings where impact is not necessarily yet measured as value. We still have, with quite some interesting discussions here, that it's still very difficult to calculate social return on investment, all these different elements. So there needs to be work done on that. And luckily, there's more and more information, specifically last decade, available in this, but we still have some way to go. So then, yes, I think the response, and Michael from St. Germany already alluded to that a little bit, from us as intermediaries as well, is to see how can we really support that kind of movement. And one project that we're working on now with 21 partners across 17 countries, and you see the countries here on the slide, is we're building this movement to scale up bisocial business-to-business markets across Europe, and really building on the shoulders of those who've really pioneered the bisocial movement, such as the Social Enterprise World Forum that was mentioned before, Social Enterprise UK, who coined the term bisocial, which is used a lot in campaigns on this topic of social procurement. And like leading intermediaries in this space are now involved in a project to actually address some of these barriers and really pinpoint some of the action areas where we can cooperate across 21 partners, including St. Germany, Social Enterprise UK, Unisocial Business, Lucy as well, and her colleagues, Social enterprise NL with the Bisocial NL initiative, very popular in the Netherlands, for example, Reach for Change. But also the Sustainable Procurement Pledge is involved there, and the Social Enterprise World Forum with their verification, which is essential, of course, to verify social enterprises for procurement. So we focus on kind of 5 action areas. And one important one is the poor visibility of social enterprises. So what we're going to do, we're really going to raise the visibility and awareness of social enterprise, and also the partnerships between traditional enterprises or corporates with social enterprises. So first of all, creating like a one-stop shop website where we'll actually demonstrate what's happening, who are the partners, who can you reach out in which countries if you need support or help, or you want to attend like an event, a pitching event that Micha was just talking about. So you can just go there and see what's happening and what could be interesting for you as a social entrepreneur or an intermediary or an enterprise or a government, of where you can actually go and understand what to do next step in your procurement strategy or your actions. Best practice case studies. So best practice like Zurich and Auticon, like we can formulate it and create an inspiring story. So we will develop multiple of those and share that also in social media campaigns. Also market analysis and mapping, really making sure that we actually know out of the 100,000 social enterprises that our network consists of, like who is corporate ready, for example, who wants to actually sell to enterprises or to governments. So really to have an up-to-date database across all the different parties involved in this. Capacity building. For social enterprises, how do you actually sell to Zurich? What do you need to know? Maybe a framework or training can really help that next step and then actually be more successful in that kind of setting up a partnership and a procurement proposal that's interesting for an organization like Zurich, or the other way around, that we actually work with Jaime or others in corporates or other organizations to see like how do you actually buy from social enterprises? What are the questions you have, and can we have a very consolidated training? Youth Social Business and Social Enterprise UK, they're already doing several of these trainings. Can we capture that and actually move that into 20 or different markets with the 21 partners in 17 countries or more countries? Verification, of course, very important. And then we're setting up several of these matchmaking facilitation services and events. So meet the buyer events, pitches. That is, for example, happening in Germany, that Send Germany is organizing, but also maybe in Portugal or in the Netherlands or in Sweden or in Serbia or Croatia, Poland, wherever there is a market. Long-term impact and sustainability is also one of the action key areas where we're going to work on, to really look also the capacity building of intermediary networks. Because they're in, for example, Hungary, they just have a new Hungarian coalition for social enterprises, but it's a very new national alliance still. So they could learn from Send Germany or Social Enterprise UK or Social Enterprise NL, who have done this for decades. Like, how do you do this? How do you do matchmaking or these kind of pitching events? Policy statements, very important for UK Network. We are a strategic partner of the European Commission. So we will work on the policy statements for recommendations on policymakers and funders, actually, what is needed to fund this action, to fund public-private partnerships, but also to fund this movement to be able to develop, and what kind of legislative changes are potentially important. And then overall, a long-term sustainable business and funding model for this intermediary support. We really see that European Commission is funding these kind of projects. SAP as well, leading supporter and funder in the space, co-funding many of the actions of Send Germany or UK Network or Youth Social Business or others, but also more public-private partnership at membership level or more multinational corporations being involved in this can be very substantially transformative to really move this needle on what social procurement can be and how it can really drive social change. So with that, I would like to go over to Claire. Thank you.
Thank you, Witeke. In the interest of time, we will not have a Q&A session here. I would like to invite all of you who have any questions or who would like to continue the engagement, would like to invite you to our chapter booth. If you go back to the reception, click on the chapters tab, and then join the Supplier Diversity chapter. You will find all of us there, and all the questions that you asked in the Q&A chat box, we will respond in that session. Thank you all for joining this session, and thank you very much to all of our speakers. And I hope we all took away a few takeouts, or at least one. I'll request Maria Josepha to kindly repost the Google Forms link. If any of you is interested to learn a little bit more from any of our organizations, please go into that form and fill in this very, very short 30-second survey. Thank you very much, and stay tuned for the next session.